This video is sponsored by BigMarleyMMA.com. Kyle Marley is up over 250 units in the last 2+ years on his premium bets. Go to BigMarleyMMA.com and use the coupon code PROSPICKS at checkout. That will get you 10% off his weekly packages.
Is this the first time in UFC history that this has happened like back to back to back? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should, 3 fights for championship back to back to back. This is crazy. Stipe's my boy. I want Stipe to win. I think after that last fight, he was getting pieced up. Cormier was piecing him up, standing up. And then I think the body shot is what turned it around later on in the rounds. The body shot slowed down Cormier. And I think Stipe's an intelligent guy. I think he's going to implement that earlier on in this fight. We'll see how well it goes. And DC's an intelligent guy. So hopefully he's been working on his body conditioning. But I think DC's looking to do what he did before. Get on the inside where he's most powerful. He can throw a 1-inch punch and knock you out with it, which is what you saw in the first fight. He got on the inside. He's got a lot shorter arms, so he can generate a lot of power from the inside, kind of like Mike Tyson style. So I think his best bet is to get there and do it again. Stipe is going to keep him on the outside, work the body shots again. Maybe lay on him. I would get him up against the cage and lay on DC a little bit. But DC is very good in that clinch. he's an Olympic wrestler. I'm going for my man Stipe, but I do believe he's going to have his hands. He's going to have a hard time in this fight with Stipe for sure. Stipe wants to go out with the W and with that title.
Fight was nobody saw much of anything, but you could see we found out that DC can knock out Stipe, right? And that was like shocked the world, right? And then the second one, DC looked even better, but Miocic weathered the storm and came back in veteran fashion and just started piecing him up, and then got the win, with the TKO knockout at the end. Which was crazy. So honestly, I don't know how anyone can make any predictions on this third fight after those 2 fights. I think, it's so hard to say. DC looked so good last fight. It looked like Stipe was in rough water a lot of the time in that fight until he started edging it back. I'm on the fence. I think DC can get in there and just throw it at him. He can obviously knock him out. He can obviously strike and just stand with him. He can wrestle him for sure.
Well, they are both my buddies. And I really just hope both guys stay healthy. I love both guys. The better man win that night.
Stipe Miocic more close for me than Daniel Cormier. I don't have nothing bad for Daniel, nothing bad for Miocic, but sometime 10 or 12 years ago I training with Stipe Miocic. He was a young guy, very strong, but nobody knows this guy. I going to Ohio. I train with Stipe Miocic, with a very strong young guy. He was no name. I don't remember, maybe 10, 12 years ago. We training very hard, and I submit him. Maybe Stipe don't remember that, but my weight was 84 kilo when I trained with him. 84 kilo, and I submit him. He was big and very strong guy, maybe 100 kilo. But that's why I have a good relationship with Stipe, and I wish win for Stipe in this fight.
Yeah, I think DC gets it done. It's his last fight, and I think he'll give it his all to try and get it done.
I love both guys, but Cormier has that winner instinct of his. I believe he will pull it off.
I'll take Cormier. I think Cormier. Well, Cormier was winning fight 2 for most of it until Stipe won. Now Stipe has the best skill a fighter can possibly have, and he's good at winning. He's good at finding a way to win. He's really well-rounded. He's good at everything, and he finds a way to win. The first fight he was winning, and Cormier caught him. I think Part of it will depend on how much Cormier chooses to rake his eyes, because I mean that's one of his favorite moves on Stipe. But if Cormier doesn't get into an ego-based striking battle and he chooses, Stipe is not easy to take down, even for Cormier. It's very difficult. But when Cormier got him down, he kept him there for the entire round. So I think if Cormier chases that a little more, then he can win. That's, again, you can never count out Stipe because he's just so good at winning. But I will take Cormier.
I don't want to see either guy lose. I'm friends with both guys, man. I don't want to see either guy lose. And Stipe's a fellow firefighter. I'm a firefighter hopeful, so that's a tough one. If DC lets him punch him in the stomach again, Stipe's running away with it again. But if Stipe does what he did in the first round, DC should win that all day long. I think the skill set, I don't know if Stipe is going to be able to close that gap in this short amount of time. And that's just my personal opinion. But Stipe hits hard, and we've seen that in the past. If he could keep the fight standing, Stipe could go home and end the trilogy. But for some reason, I just feel the way he took him down the first time makes it really hard to believe that if DC says, you know what, I'm just going to wrestle, is whether or not he can wrestle Stipe for 25 minutes.
I think Cormier is going to go out with a bang. It's his retirement fight, essentially. I think he really, really wants to go out on top, so I think he's motivated for that. And, he was doing really well in the last fight. I think he kind of fell away from the wrestling and then got caught to the body. I think he's going to wrestle a lot more in this fight and win by decision by just out-wrestling Stipe.
DC. It's a tough fight for DC, but just based on the fact that, he's an elite competitor, and he always seems like he does better, you know what I mean, when there's more pressure on him, there's more to do. I think he's gonna, fix the mistakes and get it done.
I'm gonna lean towards Stipe. Daniel Cormier, to do what he's done, the double champ, his wrestling career, I don't know. I don't see how he goes in the gym and is still motivated. I feel like the only reason I'm picking Stipe is purely being hungry and wanting it more. And I feel like Stipe is mega. I only met him a few times, but he's crazy competitive, out of his mind competitive. And I feel like the loss to DC probably, really pissed him off. So. And I think he has more motivation than Daniel does. Daniel has nothing else more to prove, period. And I think that's going to be his biggest battle in camp is lying to himself, saying that he has more to prove because he doesn't.
If DC hits his takedowns in that fight, I think DC will take it. I think DC could take that fight, in my opinion. But Stipe is really good too, and I know Stipe is going to come really prepared for that fight, but. I like DC. I like his style too. So I think I'm going for edging DC in that fight because it's his last fight too, right, or something like that. So I think he'll give it his all.
Cormier, I gotta root for him because he gets a lot of hate for no reason. He's such a good dude. I met him in person. I see all his interviews, and I try to figure out why people don't like him. And he's a boss, and I'm gonna root for him. Any fight that he fights.
Both those guys are seem really cool, and nobody really wants to see either of them lose. I would think though, just from a purely tactical standpoint, the first time DC won, he engaged in the clinch and he threw that beautiful overhand, kind of chopped him and caught him, right? The second time, he was winning and doing great with the takedowns, but then kind of abandoned it for stand-up, and Stipe really found kind of his kryptonite with those body shots and found how to he discovered a way that he can really use his boxing to neutralize Cormier. So it's kind of is Daniel gonna be smart about sticking to what got him there, kind of the old school Cormier, get in, throw those chopping hooks and then grabbing a hold of him and taking him down, or is he gonna try to stand up with him, because again, he knocked him out the first time. So, and we see that happen with, grapplers of all kinds all the time I'm going to fall in love with stand-up now because I've been knocking dudes out, when it's yeah, you're knocking dudes out because they're afraid they're going to take you down. So for my money, if I was a betting man, I'd lean a little more towards Stipe, because we've seen in the past where DC gets stuck in the stand-up exchanges and doesn't do it in a way where he's mixing in his wrestling, like even feinting and faking. He just like, okay, we're going to do stand-up now. And then by the time he goes back to his wrestling, it's so obvious because you're like, no, now I know you're doing it because you're moving too much.
Daniel Cormier, 50-45, 50-45, 50-45. Out wrestles the piss out of him.
That's a trilogy fight, man. It all depends. You know, DC's a badass, man, but Stipe's tough, man. So I think the longer it goes, it's gonna be Stipe's fight. But if he can come in there and crack him early, he has a shot, man. He had a great game plan in the last fight, and man, it didn't fall in his favor. But I'm pulling for DC. I like DC. I'm a fan of DC's, man. His age, and the way he is as a family man, and what he does for the UFC, everything. But same thing with Stipe. He's a hard-nosed worker. But I'm pulling for DC. Hopefully DC can come back and take care of business.
I really like DC. I really hope he does it because, you know, this way he can retire. Like, he wants to retire out on top. Like, I think he said this is his last fight no matter what, whether he wins or loses. For me, my last fight's going to be, like, when I retire, it's not going to be off a win. It's going to be off a loss. Because if I can win, I'm going to keep going. Because that lets me know I can win at the highest level, so I'll just keep going. I'd rather go out on my shield. And that lets me know that I can't do it anymore. But I hope, I like Stipe and I like DC, but I just like what DC's done. And, you know, I really like, I just want DC to win. So I hopefully he pulls it off.
I think Stipe's going to do it. I think Stipe figured out a way to get his number from that last fight, and Stipe's just going to end it. But DC's he's just smart. He's a really smart dude. So it's not gonna be easy, but I think Stipe doesn't have the edge over him.
I think Stipe is gonna keep it. That's just my thought. I think Stipe is a little bit more athletic, and Cormier, I mean, his wrestling's amazing, but I just think that if Stipe can move and, you know, stay away from getting laid on and taken down, then I think that he'll keep it.
Stipe. I think I see a finish this time. Same thing, you know, finishing him on the feet.
Oh, that's a tough one, man. That is a tough one. I know a couple of my mates have been asking me about that, actually. Do you know what? It's funny because both fights, you know, sort of, they went in sort of a similar way, but then Stipe in the second fight managed to find the way to really get to Cormier, but Cormier was doing a lot of the damage in the first as well. And Cormier even in the second fight was doing quite a lot of damage and landing some good strikes, and until, like I said, Miocic, you know, sort of found the way through it and got to him. So, you know, I mean, listen, from the way those fights played out, I would think that Cormier would be the sort of the front runner to win that fight, but at the same time, you don't know what Miocic is going to pull out of the bag. I mean, he is an extremely tough competitor, and you know, he always pulls through, and he's such a nice guy as well. So yeah, man, another interesting fight. Like I say, it'll be interesting to see who comes out with the third one. But like I say, I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards Cormier on that one.
Thanks for watching this video, sponsored by BigMarleyMMA.com. Kyle Marley is up over 250 units in the last 2+ years on his premium bets. Go to BigMarleyMMA.com and use the coupon code PROSPICKS at checkout. That will get you 10% off his weekly packages.